management research. Hello and welcome to the Management Research Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Eugene. Hello and welcome to the next episode in my mini-series dedicated to the topic of well-being in an organization or burnout prevention. And the whole mini-series is dedicated mostly to our book, and in this episode we're going to talk about the next chapter. In my previous episodes we talked already about the introduction, which was chapter 1, about the brief history of process management, which was chapter 2, and the brief history of burnout, which was the chapter 3. And now we're going to talk about the next chapter, and I'm going to go a little bit into more detail. The main idea of the next chapter is to find early indications of burnout. And it is a bit tricky question, because if you have the early indications of burnout, then actually it is usually a bit too late. Because in the event of burnout, we know the indications from the theory by Maslach and colleagues. This is the cynicism, this is the depersonalization or low self-efficacy, meaning that people do not believe in what they can achieve, and finally it is the emotional exhaustion. And if you see already these expressions, it means that burnout to some extent has already started. It of course depends on the theoretical perspective, because if we use more recent theory of burnout by Schaufeli, Becker, De Maruti and colleagues, then in this event the cynicism would show that there is a coping mechanism. It means a person is already exhausted and tries to cope with the situation and show fewer of emotions. And if we see the low self-efficacy, then it is usually the consequence of burnout. So if we try to find as early indicators the signs of cynicism and depersonalization or low self-efficacy, then in this event we actually talk about the situation when it is already too late. It means burnout has already started. And that is why we actually want to look at the psychological issues within your process before burnout has appeared. We need to find those indications that show that some of the pieces of your process, some activities within your process, they are depleting emotional or mental energy of your employees. In our book we suggest several instruments to do this, a kind of simple tools that can help you find out what actually is not working well. And the first tool that I'm going to introduce in this episode is the exercise which is called Let's Make It Worse. The Let's Make It Worse exercise is a bit destructive in the sense that you will have to think in a bad terms, but interestingly the feedback that we received to our book from our readers is that it was a very helpful tool, and it was very positive at the end. The idea of the tool is that we know people very good, those people with whom you work. And if you want to find out what is depleting energy of yourself or of your colleagues, then actually you just need to ask yourself a simple question. How can I make it worse? How can I make this person who can be approximating burnout to get into burnout as quick as possible? And interestingly, as we know people, you can immediately find what are the options how you can do it. For instance, for me, the most energy depleting activity is teaching. Not teaching itself. I like teaching, I like staying in the room, I like holding my seminars online, talking to students, it's all very pleasant. But to start a course, I have to prepare a website, or I have to our web page on our university server, where I have to announce all the stuff and make all the descriptions and make a lot of things like making all the assignments, announcements, and it takes a lot of energy. It requires from me attention, and I'm the person who is very bad in, let's say I'm very good in making mistakes and typos, so I'm very bad in proofreading all the things that I have written. This is really an emotional depleting process for me, filling out our website. And then actually the lecture is the most pleasant part of teaching, but then you have to check all the assignments, you have to do a lot of other things, and if it is assignment where I have to communicate with students, it's a lot of fun. But mostly it's about the setting the course that the student has done, has accomplished, has written, has read, and so on. So it's kind of just a task that you have to do in order to know that the students fulfilled all the requirements. And I personally find it a kind of waste of time, because students, if they want to learn, they learn. If they don't want to learn, doesn't really matter whether they set the cross or not set the cross. I mean, you can try to force people to read the book and you can check that they have read it. The question is whether they understood it or not, and they understand it if they want it. So unfortunately, it's not about all students, but sometimes you have the issue with students who are just not reading or doing something. And for me, teaching is not about teaching self, it's about all the administrative processes attached that deplete my energy completely. So all this administration is actually something that is depleting my energy. If I look at a different colleague of mine, let's call her Mary, as we called her in the book, without actually telling what is the real name and real gender. Maybe it is male, but we in this book we assumed it is female. And what she does, she is really helpful to students and trying to supervise all the students, support them all, and paying a lot of attention to whatever students do. And actually the best way to deplete her energy, to make it worse, is to assign even more students whom she has to supervise and somehow enhance the email communication. Let's say reinforce more emails from students with stupid questions. It's always a pleasure to answer questions from students that are interesting, where you elaborate on the recent concept, the recent topic, where it's about the opinion. And the most uninteresting and energy depleting emails in her event, and actually I think in my event too, is answering the question, when is the deadline? The deadline is on a website, but if the student doesn't even bother to go to the website and check the deadlines and writes immediately to a professor, it is very energy depleting and a kind of stupid work that you have to do. So let's somehow increase the amount of the stupid emails, and without giving her any acknowledgement for the work that she does, and somehow empowering her to answer the emails during the vacations and holidays in a very simple way. Let's say we will thank her for every email that she responds to during the weekend. It will kind of create a positive feedback. She will know she has to answer the emails, and at the end she will be very quickly in the state of burnout. So we know now already what are the weaknesses and what actually causes her burnout. As an example, for another colleague of mine, she is very oriented towards acknowledgement, and she needs to be acknowledged. She needs to know that she is doing something right. She needs this positive feedback. She needs to know that whatever she does, it is the correct way to do it. She needs this positive feedback from students, from other colleagues, from university management, from parents, from her husband, and so on. So in this event, if we think about this person getting no acknowledgement, or maybe even penalizing for some thing that didn't really work out, maybe 99% of all the things she does work perfectly, and 1% doesn't, pointing out this 1% and saying what has been done wrongly without giving acknowledgement for the 99% will deplete her energy completely, and actually very quickly. So I gave you already 3 examples, and what I want to say with it is that actually, if you know this, you know already which pieces of the work, which parts of the process, which activities deplete the energy mostly. If we play this game, how to make it worse, we find out what is the most dangerous aspect of the process referring to this specific person. And in our book, we say with Yevgen that the idea is to make tailored processes, because at the end it's not about one-size-fits-all processes, it's about the individual approach to our employees. If we know what exactly depletes the energy, we can rearrange the processes and make them better. For instance, if I have so many issues with administration, then the best way is would be to assign me an assistant who will help me with all the stuff. I don't mind. Our issue is that we have assistants who also change every time. If I have an assistant from more than half a year, I'm happy. But it happened to me many times when I had an assistant change 3 times within 2 years. It means I spend more time on educating the assistant than actually on resolving the real issue, the real problem. But if we do it, then we reduce my level of burnout, or we reduce the probability of occurrence of burnout drastically. The same with a second colleague, with a Mary, whom I call Mary. If we just prohibit her to respond to emails or discourage her from responding to all the emails during the weekend. And if we find a way that the students do not ask professors because of everything that is written on Sakai, let's say we penalize them. If the question that you are asking has already been answered on Sakai, you lose 2 points, 2 from 100. It's not much, but it's already discouraging to writing emails to everybody at the university because you forgot to read on an email, you forgot to read through your emails, or you forgot to do something else. So these simple steps will help reduce the level of burnout, which is individual, because we're all different. And as I told you about my third colleague who is really looking for acknowledgement, that in this event, giving more acknowledgement is good. And maybe not focusing on the mistakes, on the, let's say, developing good failure culture would be a very good option, at least for her specifically, and maybe for the whole team. I hope that this tool will help you. Try to play this game. It's a kind of destructive, let's make it worse. But while playing, you will discover how many things you know about yourself, how many things you know about other people, and what is actually mostly depleting your energy. Good luck, and I'll see you in the next episode where we are going to talk about the next tool. Bye-bye.